Well, what is happening, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? It is your boy, D-WIZZLE. Thank you, as always, for tuning back into the channel. And today, we're going to be talking about Stranger Things Season 5, the final season, the epic finale, the epic conclusion. We are finally going to be talking about it. Oh, it's been a long time coming with this season. It felt like I've been waiting an eternity for it, ever since season 4 was released. But finally, we are here. We are at the end. I'm so excited to get into it. So let's not waste any more time. Um, I have reviewed the previous 4 seasons on my channel. If you guys haven't seen that, I'll put a link in the description below so you guys can watch them. And for this review, I'm there's going to be some spoilers in there. The show's already been out. The majority of people have watched it already. So I will be mentioning some spoilers. I'm gonna try my best not to give away every little detail, but there's definitely some details I probably want to talk about that I don't want to dance around. So I'll put the spoiler warning up there now. So I love Stranger Things. Stranger Things is probably one of my favorite shows. It was such a surprise when it first came out. Um, when it was first coming out, it looked good, but I didn't expect how much I would enjoy season one. And season one, I thought was one of the best things on television. To be honest, I thought it was absolutely great. I love the kids in this show. Um, it's a rarity that we would get a show where all of the kid actors were good, but not only were they good, they were great. And just the whole concept of the show is great. Doing like a whole Goonies like kind of horror mystery type of thing. I love that stuff. I thought it was great. Just the it was a very unique show for its time. And as the show went on, I just ended up loving it more and more. Season two is actually my personal favorite. I know that's a hot take for a lot of people, but I love season two. I liked where the characters, where it led off after season one. I liked the journeys of all the characters. I just thought they took a lot of what they established from the first season and made it, better in my opinion, the majority of it. And I know people were pissed off about that one episode where 11 was meeting with 8 and the other kids doing crime and stuff like that. I like definitely that was the weakest episode, but it wasn't enough to deter me from the entire season. Season 3 I liked, but it's probably my least favorite season so far. I just there were some character motivations in there that I wasn't a big fan of. And the leaning more towards the humor and the kind of mess with the tone for me in season 3. And just there's some stuff they did with the direction that I wasn't as invested in as the previous 2 seasons. Then we get to season 4, which that was the first time they split stuff into 3 parts. I think that this one's only had 2 parts. Part one, I was not a big fan of. I thought the pacing in the first part was very slow, and once again, the character motivations were kind of iffy. But I was still invested in where the story was going to go after that. But then part two, what I thought was absolutely fantastic. They raised the stakes. They emphasized the horror aspect of it. Yeah, just everything was really cool. It was the darkest it's ever gotten. Like I think this is probably the most adult that Stranger Things has gotten was season 4, and I personally appreciated that. Um, yes, there's a lot you can nitpick and tear apart as far as them establishing stuff in the Upside Down and Vecna, and they're obviously retconning stuff that was established in the first season. Yes, we could tear that apart for days, but for me, I was still engaged with what was going on, and the characters were helping me get through a lot of the stuff that may or may not have made the most sense. Just the chemistry with all the characters are just so good. It's just so good in this show. Probably one of my big things when it comes to movies and shows is that the stuff with the story and the plot may not be great, but if the character moments are really good, it makes me want to see more. And that's what I feel about Stranger Things. That's why I end up enjoying it as much as I do. So then we get to season 5. Um, season 5, like I feel like this is a show that's been going on for a really, really long time. Probably longer than it should. Like we're going on 10 years with this show. And a lot of the kids have grown up really fast. Like, where they're all in their early 20s by now, and they're still trying to convince us that they're teenagers, which is kind of nuts to say the least. If you see them now compared to when they were kids, they literally grew like weeds. But like, yeah, I felt like with the popularity of Stranger Things, nobody expected Stranger Things to be as big as it was. Um, like, just look at where they were in the first season and where they are now. They're trying to turn this show into as like a summer blockbuster, which is pretty nuts to say. Like you could just see in the budget and the effects, and the stakes are getting higher, and like these big battles and giant monsters and stuff like that. Like part of me is kind of missing the days where it was like smaller in scale, when it was just stuff going on in the neighborhood, and like you could compare it to like Scooby Doo and Goonies and stuff like that. But now it's just turning into like this big action spectacle thing, which I'm not gonna lie, I got a kick out of it. I enjoy that stuff, but I definitely feel like Stranger Things has gotten much bigger than it probably should have. So we get to season 5. Like, this is my most anticipated show. This was my most anticipated show, just because I just been waiting for to see how everything concluded and where all the characters were going to end up. So I was on the edge of my seat. Of course, I ended up watching each part as it came out. The day before Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Eve. Yeah, of course, I was waiting in anticipation for all of them. And overall, I would say I enjoyed the season overall. I thought it was good. Um, I didn't think it was great. There were moments in it that were great, but the season as a whole, it wasn't. It didn't reach the heights that I wanted it to. But as far as a conclusion, as far as wrapping up all the characters, for the most part, I would say I'm satisfied. Not not it didn't not perfect, obviously. There I do have some issues which I'll get into in a minute, but overall I liked the season. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great, but I definitely don't think it was trash like a lot of people are saying. I don't think this season was bad. Um if I were to compare this season to the others, I would say season 2 is still my favorite, and then we get to season 1, and then probably season 4, and then I'll put season 5, and then I'll put season 3. That's where I'll rank it from best to worst. Um, what I really liked about this season, though, I do think that as far as I think it started off a lot stronger than it did in season 4, because I thought part 1 of season 4 was it dragged a lot. But I think the season 5, the way it started out with this first part, I thought it was a lot better paced. I like that the start of the show, like we're right in it. We got the entire gang like making a plan to go into the upside down and stop Vecna and stuff like that. So I liked that we're immediately moving and stuff like that, and everybody's forming a plan and stuff like that, and getting ready to face the creatures and the Demigorgons and Vecna. I really liked all of that. And I like that everybody, for the most part, is together. Like, you still have people doing their separate missions and stuff like that, but I like that for the most part everyone was together, like we weren't splitting off and doing different things too much. You still had those times where everyone was together, and I really appreciated that, and gave with more character moments as well. I really liked all of that. Um, See, Millie Bobby Brown is 11. Man, she matured a lot since the first season. And it's just really cool to see 11, actually, because from the first season, she's able to, she doesn't speak a lot. And now just seeing her all grown up and speaking in proper sentences, I think is great. But also her honing in her powers, like you see in, the first part that she's in the forest training, using her abilities and stuff like that. And Hopper and Joyce are training her and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. It did give me some Rise of Skywalker vibes. I'm not gonna lie. With Rey training in the beginning of the movie, it was very similar to that. I kind of dig that. And then you had Dustin and Steve and Nancy and Jonathan trying to devise a plan to get into the Upside Down and stuff like that. So I really like that. And then you had, Mike and Lucas and Will. Well, Will trying to hone his psychic abilities and stuff like that. That I think that was very interesting to see how his mind was connecting with Vecna. I thought that was pretty cool. I like they're actually giving Will attention in this season because it feels like he almost was an afterthought in season 4, and even you could say in the seasons before that too, they didn't give him as much as the first 2 seasons. But in this one, you feel like he's actually important to the story, and you actually get to see him use his powers more. Actually, see his psychic bond that he has with Vecna and using it against him. I actually really like that. Like, you feel like Will really matured in this season, and that's something I really, really liked. I know there's people that are annoyed of him, and I guess you can say he's probably one of the weaker actors of the main gang that we follow. But I really think he grown a lot as a character, and I do think he's improved as an actor a little bit. Still think he's the weakest, but I do think he improved a lot this season.